person, I'm a student that I don't have any background in any of these fields, and I'm coming in, what would you say, action?
Well, if I'm trying to get you to the program, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what you like, and I'm going to tie in how this program addresses that. If there's any type of inkling towards technical things or computers or looking at electrical systems, or you hit this button and you see something else over there happen, what happens in between all of that? Is that something you're interested in?
Mr. Kern, what you been up to?
Just well, last year or last week, I should say, my wife and I had our 10th anniversary.
Oh,
So
congratulations!
we had a nice time. So we were, because she's from Canada and Bermuda, and so we got friends from all over the place, and so we had a little Zoom anniversary party. And we didn't have it too huge. We went to one a few weeks ago that was like over 300 people.
What?
But anniversary party for one of our friends.
Wait, Zoom or like virtual or in
virtual.
person? Okay.
Yeah, virtual. It was 300 people tied in over Zoom. And so we wanted to keep ours small. But it was really nice. We cooked all day on Saturday and did a 10-course meal. And each course was paired with its own wine.
Oh, my goodness. That sounds so nice.
Yep. And there was a backstory behind each course that related to either a meal that we've just done together and really enjoyed it, or it related to one of the friends that were in our bridal party. So we brought them in on each course. So at each course, it was a new person from the party that joined. Each course lasted like 15, 20 minutes.
That is so creative.
Yeah, my wife is like that. Yeah, she came up with that whole idea.
And I was going to say, she's like that. It sounds like she's always been creative, but during this COVID, it's forced us to think outside the box.
Go to a whole nother level. Oh, yeah.
Well, that's beautiful. Congratulations. Yeah. I want to know, what is your history? How did you get started about building automation? I mean, who told you about building automation?
I went to Georgia Piedmont back in the mid-'90s when I was a senior in high school. And I took the electromechanical engineering program, in fact, right across the hall. And after that, I went to go work as an engineer for Bell South back then. It's AT&T now. But I moved to New York, and that's where I got exposed to building automation. And I was working in what's called commissioning, and I was able to do that type of work because of the industrial controls training that I had from that program. And so that introduced me to the field. In essence, commissioning is going in and inspecting the installation of commercial HVAC and building automation systems. So the electrical and the control side, I had a strong background in, but the mechanical side is what I had to learn. It really fascinated me to see how everything came together. And so with that, I transitioned into controls, automation, engineering, and did that for a while. And then I taught some. And then after I got married, we lived in the islands, and I transitioned to hospital facilities management. And that was taking my understanding of automation to another new level, because of the systems that are in a hospital are highly specialized and critical. And that was fascinating for me. But coming back here and seeing what was going on with Georgia Piedmont, and because this whole school is close to my heart, having been here and knowing some of the instructors for many years, and seeing what they were doing with the building automation program, being one of the first, if not the first, 2-year college to have a program like this in the country, and seeing what they're doing with commercial refrigeration, I wanted to be a part of that. And so in 2013, when we moved back to the States, I worked here part-time for a little bit, and then in 2015, I took over the program, teaching full-time.
Now, one thing that you and I have had many discussions about is students are just not being aware of building automation or just any STEM-related field. So you mentioned you started out in electromechanical engineering. Who told you about that? How did you find out? What was your passion about getting started in that field?
Well, it's funny because if you look at my graduation ring, my high school graduation ring, the symbol on the side is for accounting, nothing having to do with engineering, because I naturally like math. My father, though, was very hands-on in helping me decide what I wanted to do with my life and career. And so we came to this college, and I looked at a number of the programs. And I had the benefit of actually working in accounting when I was young. And it was just tedious for me. When I saw that engineering program, I fell in love with the subject matter. And when I saw the number of fields that I could get into with that, that's what made me pick that. And it has allowed me to do a number of have a number of jobs and careers, all from that single program.
That's a good point. That's important to go into sort of a broader field and really see, especially if you're not really sure what it is specifically you want to do, go into a broader field, get that experience, get that degree, that certification, and then you'll really find out what it is specifically you want to do. And Mr. Krim, in 2015, you mentioned you took over as the instructor. Since then, what are some of the projects or research that you have worked on and or currently are working on that involves building automation?
Well, when I took over the program, this lab that you see, it wasn't built. And so it's basically an empty room with desks. And so...
really? Like
none of this was here.
Wow.
It was, I mean, some of these pieces of equipment, they had just been purchased, and they were out on the dock. But everything... even from the color of the walls, it was a bland color. Everything has been built.
Wow.
And so being a part of that, that's been the main project, working with the BAS Center and the other instructors here in the college to get this lab built. And it's 1,600 square feet. And because we decided to put this real equipment in here, we have a lot in here. And so Siemens has dubbed it a commercial building in a lab. And so just having those projects and just having continual projects to make it state-of-the-art, that's been an ongoing effort. But now our focus has really changed since this is roughly 80 to 90% complete. Our focus is now on the Living Lab Learning Center, which is in the adjacent building right next to our commercial refrigeration lab. And the Living Lab Learning Center is designed to be a central location where anyone walking by will be able to see through the glass an energy dashboard. In other words, two big screen TVs that show live data when it comes to the electrical usage of the buildings, even the mechanical systems and so forth. The students will get an understanding, or potential students walking by, and anyone for that matter, will be able to see how the air conditioning program, the commercial refrigeration program, and the building automation program all come together synergistically and really promote these programs. That's the idea, to have these programs really promoted and help the community see what excellent programs they are and how students will learn on state-of-the-art equipment that's incredibly fascinating, seeing where technology is going with these fields.
That's pretty huge because, you want the students who will potentially enter the program or enter into, as you mentioned, HVAC or electromechanical engineering, you want them to see, as you said, the living version of the lab, what it is that they would actually be doing in the field. So that's pretty big. I'm looking forward to coming back and interviewing you again and getting more information about that project.
And so we're going to be putting electrical smart meters on the power feeds for each of these buildings, the 3 buildings in the back of the campus. And so when this was originally done, roughly 10 years ago, and that was the automation students back then, they installed them and they started looking at the electrical consumption of these buildings. They found a huge consumption, and how just adjusting the pieces of equipment in the building to the way they should operate, it reduced the consumption of the building so much and really reduced the cost for the college. And that's just one project. And so the plan is to really do that again with updated equipment, but now tie that data back to this one central location, put it on display like you would typically see in a LEED certified building, an energy dashboard. And so we're going to save the college money, get the students involved in analyzing the systems of the buildings they're learning in, and then show how all that dovetails into this program.
And see, that type of project is exactly what a student, if I were a student coming into the program, that's exactly what I would want to put on my resume, because that's, again, hands-on learning.
Yep.
And that's what these employers want to see. They want, and if I was an employer and I see that on someone's resume, I'm going to say, wow, they came from a technical college that really showed that hands-on learning was really important. And you mentioned that potential students, what would you say is the most difficult part of recruiting potential students into this program and really programs across the nation?
Really, what we're finding and just speaking with other colleges around the country, because we're in networks such as the BAS Center, we're finding here locally and across the country that just getting the word out is one of the biggest challenges. Really helping ones understand what is building automation. A lot of people see that, but they don't know what it is. But then when you mention HVAC, there's a good number of people that understand the importance and the necessity of HVAC, but just HVAC itself is not something a high school student just says they want to go out and do, because it's hands-on work. They think about getting their hands dirty and this sort of thing. So the idea is to really make it's like an old beat-up car, but then you take it and get it, put a new paint job on it, put some rims on it, put a sound system in it, and now you want to drive it. We want to make HVAC, building automation, look like that, because really this field, building automation, it's clean work, and ones basically go to a job site not with a huge toolbox, but they go with their laptop, a little small set of tools. And instead of using their hands so much, they're using their mind. And so that's what we really are working towards, helping them to appreciate with the technological advances. HVAC is not like it used to be, and especially when you look at the specializations of commercial refrigeration and building automation. It's a field that ones really want to get into once they understand what it entails.
And so how is GPTC or any other technical colleges that you communicate with regularly, how are they helping to aid that problem, to close that gap?
Well, our marketing team here is helping, and thanks to organizations like yourself, ACP, working with the BAS Center, we're gradually getting the word out. really having a strong social media presence is something that we've been working with as of late, and that's been effective. Most of my students, though, they come to this program because of word of mouth. Word of mouth is still the best recruiter up to this point. So ones come and they see what an incredible lab it is. They get into the curriculum and see the depth of understanding they acquire from just a short period of time. And so from young ones to ones that have been in this industry for years, they're spreading the word. And so that's how it's working so far.
And in this particular classroom, what is like the lower end of students that you've ever taught in a semester, and then what's like the highest number? And like what's the maximum number of students that can fit in the classroom?
The maximum number, we try to have no more than about 15 to 20. And the max I've had in a classroom is 15. Lately, things have dipped as far as enrollment, but the max has been around 15. We don't want to go too much farther above 15 to 20 because with this type of learning environment, we want to really have a hands-on approach with the students. And because they're working on the equipment, you can only have so many at one time. That makes it all more personal, the learning experience, which really is another aspect of why this program is appealing.
And how many women out of that number since 2015? Just humor me. How many women have gone through your program? If you can give me an average.
Well, that's an easy number, because it's not a good number. Since 2015, we've had 2 come through the program.
No way.
But that's a group that we're really trying to market to is females, because females are very, very detail-oriented.
I appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
Yeah. So building automation is very detail-oriented. Case in point, you get an appliance, and there's directions with it. In all humility, I'll say it. Most guys will take those directions, throw it in the corner, and spend 2 hours just trying to sort through it.
Yeah.
This is a field that requires reading and following directions to the T. And so what I've found is that those females that had no background in the industry whatsoever, no technical background, they were in the class with others, with men that had background in HVAC, commercial HVAC. They did better because they were working from ground up, from scratch, and they were following the directions to the T. And so in the industry, too, it's recognized that females are like that, and so they're highly sought after by employers. So that's a whole aspect of our marketing that we're really working to target at this point.
When I was looking for a female controls technician to interview, well, I shouldn't say when I was looking for, I'm still looking for, and we talked about that too. One of your students we tried to get a hold of, and she was absolutely so sweet and so willing to do it, and I'm going to reach back out to her. But having someone, a veteran in the field, I have yet to find someone to interview. So, Mr. Kroom, after this one, if you know someone, I will be happy to get their contact information. But that is the dire need. You mentioned that now enrollment is down. I want to assume it's due to COVID. And if it is, what has shifted? Like, how is it currently? Because you guys are starting back your semester now. You are in the classroom teaching. How has everything just shifted and changed?
Well, when COVID came, we went totally online. That was in the spring semester. We went totally online. And we had to get incredibly creative. Some work you cannot do online. You have to be touching a piece of equipment.
Right. I'm like, how do you do this?
Exactly. However, there's a lot that you can do. strictly online and really learn these systems, not being physically in the lab. Now, one of the things that taught us that is one of the colleges that we have an articulation agreement with, Ferris State University of Michigan. They have the program whereby after a student finishes their associate degree in building automation, air conditioning, or commercial refrigeration, they can go on for an additional 2 years and get a bachelor's degree in HVAC, engineering, energy management. But the interesting point is that that work is done virtually all online. They'll spend the majority of that time, that 2 years, online, and then in a matter of a week or two, they'll go up for just a week or two and do the hands-on work for that whole period. Oh. So it's a lot you can learn online. It's just you have to get very creative with the curriculum, the assignments. Troubleshooting activities is something that I implemented even more of. We have troubleshooting in the lab already, which is a huge part of the curriculum. But designing and troubleshooting exercises online, I've found to be very beneficial.
Do you feel like this program, let's say Georgia shuts down again, and we don't know how long it's going to shut down, but the show must go on. As you said, we transition online. And let's say that you actually have to finish the program online. I don't know how long, but would you say that those who finish the program or have majority of their training online and they don't get this hands-on experience, will that put them behind? Will that make them less attractive to employers?
Well, one thing we're doing is with the necessary hands-on activities that you cannot substitute. We've been doing a couple of things. We've had the students come in and do the lab, but in smaller groups. And so let's say in a lab like this, for instance, you may have 2 students working with safe distancing. And, of course, I'll be in the lab as well. And we follow safe procedures and everything. And so they'll finish up and another group can come in. So we've been doing things like that. In fact, this semester I have one class where we're doing that on Thursday evenings. So that's one way. Another way is that I'm taking advantage of a very nice development, and that is the recent group of students. Well, they're the advanced group now because I have 2 groups going simultaneously. All of those students, it's a small group, but all of them had jobs in the automation field by their second semester with me.
Oh, wow.
And so as a result, now they're working in the field and speaking with their employers because the companies, they're on our advisory committee. I have a good relationship with them. I know what they're doing on the job site regularly. And so I can actually use some of the work that they're doing on the job site towards exercises that they're learning here in the class. So as they're advancing on the job site, I'm tying that in with things that we're learning in the curriculum, and I've been able to use that as far as their work for their degree is concerned as well.
So that's really interesting. Typically, now just actually before I ask this question, let me clarify. Are you saying that they have paid internships or they're already full-time employees in automation?
No, they're already full-time employees.
What? So you're telling me, I'm telling you, y'all, I'm gonna be in Mr. Groom's class. Give me the schedule.
We would love another female.
I'm telling you. So you're telling me, you said second semester, which there's 4 semesters total because it's 2 years?
Well, they have, technically it's 5 semesters.
Okay.
But the first semester, they take the air conditioning prerequisite classes. So they're with me 4 semesters. Sometimes they'll take the internship the last semester after they're finished with me. So they're with me between 4 and 5 semesters.
Okay.
And Oh, well, basically, it depends on the student. I tell them that all the time. Is they can, because there's such demand for automation technicians, if they apply themselves and really employ the soft skills that we learn about in the first semester with me here in our introduction class, and they go to an employer, a lot of employers will hire them just knowing they're in a program like this, not even necessarily finished a program like this.
Employers will want you to come with that piece of paper that says, I have the completed degree. But Mr. Kroon, it just sounds like you have figured it out over here. Because if these students are feeling confident and comfortable to go to these employers, that's amazing. And that's the information that we're trying to get out to people who not only would just be interested in this field, but really need it financially. At this point, there are people who really need a career like this. And so to know that, that's even quicker than saying after 2 years, you go into the field. You could literally, after 1 year, start.
And see, the thing is, I have a pretty big cross section of students. I get students that they've been in this industry for a while already. They may have been electricians, or they've done HVAC or facilities management, and then they want to tack on building automation to that because they know what an automation technician does. Then I have students that have absolutely no background whatsoever. So essentially, I have a pretty big cross-section of students. So I have students that come in, but to illustrate that point, first of all, in that group of 15 that I mentioned to you before, in that class, I had a retired civil engineer in his 60s, and I had also 2 twins that had just recently graduated high school, and everything in between. So you get quite a big variety. Students that have no background in the industry whatsoever, they can still get jobs early on in the program doing installation first. And for someone that has no background, that's an excellent way to get meaningful experience that will serve them well as service technicians and whatever career pathway they can choose, seeing that there's so many with building automation. So they can get jobs early on as installation technicians. Those that have prior background, like in facilities management or commercial HVAC already, they can go right in and work with automation companies. And they may do some installation starting out, but they'll even more rapidly transition into the more technical service-related work.
So after the students come in, because now not only are you guys being creative in your celebrations, like you said, your 10-year anniversary with your wife, but COVID is forcing us to be creative in the classroom, where now you are creating new schedules, new methods of online training, and having to separate the groups into smaller groups to actually do the lab. So when they come in and they're working with the equipment, are you able, with this type of equipment, like, can I spray Clorox, Windex, like, how do you sanitize this equipment without just destroying it?
Yeah, this semester, the hands-on work they're doing is with the training boards. And fortunately, there's enough training boards for each individual. And so you can see I have the wipes here, and they wear their masks in class. My students, they have the frame of mind that they want to be safe and protect others, so they're wearing their masks. I keep it well ventilated. And so we haven't had any problems in that regard. The things that can be wiped down, we wipe down. But because they have their own individual pieces of equipment to work on, it's not as critical in that regard.
Oh, that's good. And can you work on this equipment with gloves or?
Yes. Yeah, we have gloves. They can wear plastic gloves. Sometimes with the very intricate work, it may be challenging, but they can definitely wear gloves.
Well, that's good that everyone is focused on being safe, and I know the restroom is right outside as well, so if anybody needs to just wash their hands, I'm sure that they come in and do that before Actually, you made me do that before this podcast, so that was good. I know that what you're saying is true.
Yes. Well,
what are some ways that automation can, help control the mass spreading of this disease and make everyone a little bit more comfortable?
Well, that's a very good question. As far as things that you can monitor and analyze, the sky's the limit as far as that's concerned. But in a more practical way right now, an application, it's interesting. I was just reading a trade journal recently on this. Airflows into a building, that's something that's so vital in this regard. How much air is going out of the building, something else very important. These are things building automation systems monitor. When you think about economizing, which is a function of air handling units and bringing in more outside air to cool during the more temperate months of the year. Then you get down to actual pieces of equipment like damper actuators, which control the amount of air that's flowing in a unit. This all ties into building automation. But then something else that's more recent, I was reading that some preliminary studies are underway that indicate our own immune response is stronger where there's higher levels of humidification in a space. And so that's something that your mechanical system controls through the automation system. And so you get into additional things like filtering the air with your air handling unit. Again, when you monitor that and understand when that filter needs to be changed, we're getting back to our building automation system. If you put in much more stronger filtering systems, you're going to have a higher pressure drop, which is going to affect how your fan moves the air through that system. Analyzing this is part of the mechanical aspect of your system, controlling this. This is your building automation system. So yes, in answer to your question, understanding this technology and its application will help in this whole aspect of pandemics.
So in other words, what you're telling me, not only are doctors and nurses are superheroes, but building automation controls technicians, because they are the ones going in and creating these filtration systems in these hospitals that's helping with the patients, the airflow. Yeah. It all kind of ties together. And when we think about it like that, like you said, I think that's a part of the marketing that we discussed earlier, making it practical, putting it into a form that we all can understand, especially, like I said, during this crisis time that we are all going through. What would you say that, as an instructor, not only just making the message plain for your students, but what else is really important? What's the most important thing about you being an instructor?
I really want the students to be marketable and highly attractive when they leave here. And so we really focus, and that's something on our advisory committee we regularly talk about, which is the members of industry that we work with to keep the program relevant and effective. And something we talk about all the time is the importance of soft skills, communication, trust, the way you dress, the way you talk, timeliness, time management. These are the things that really make them so attractive to employers, even if their hard technical skills may not be on a high level yet. And so that's something that I regularly impress upon the students in every single class, the importance of developing those soft skills, because it's been proven that that is what makes them attractive to employers.
And I think that's what's impressive with this particular program, Mr. Kroom, that we talk about all the time, how the industry is in dire need of technical workers. And knowing that it's not like this program is just kind of sitting down, going through the motions and saying, this is what you need, this is how you'll get employed, just kind of going by the book. You're taking the time, like you said, to really teach those soft skills that overall just makes you a better person.
That's it.
And I think that's what's really important, because people think that, okay, I got all the credentials, I look great on my resume. But ultimately, are you a good person that I can work with? That this is a career, this is not a job. So you'll be going into workspaces, and I interviewed the boys up in Boston. You know, you'll be in the same apartment for a while.
Yep.
And you got to know how to treat people, and you got to be able to do that. Know how to treat yourself. You know, you learn so many things in this program, and we appreciate that. I've heard a lot of great things about that part.
Yep.
And Mr. Krum, what would you say the biggest impacts that the students receive after they receive their building automation degree?
Well, the biggest thing, of course, is having now a livelihood that they can take pride in. They're able to take care of themselves and their families financially. They can have a good measure of financial security. And on top of that, it's work that the students are incredibly proud of and they want to talk about. That is probably the most refreshing part of this responsibility to instruct, because you get a lot of satisfaction in the classroom when you see the students have those light bulb moments when they get a concept. But then after they leave and they come back, or I get a phone call and I hear how much they're learning on their job, how much they love their job and the things that they're learning, and how much they appreciate the things that we went over in the classroom because it's helping them advance in the industry. Those are the things that really mean a lot to me. And when I see that with those students, I can see that their time here has been well spent.
What are other STEM-related careers that students can get their degree in for building automation? So at GPTC?
Well, for really all the programs here at the college, the technical college is related to STEM in some kind of way. All of them are related. Really focusing, though, on this particular area, commercial refrigeration, building automation, and the air conditioning technologies program are really geared towards STEM. And these programs come together, as I mentioned earlier, synergistically, in that nice way to look at it. Air conditioning, what they learn there forms a foundation. And building automation and commercial refrigeration are more specialization. So like a doctor, for instance, can choose to be a general practitioner, but then he could choose to go on and specialize in a particular field, like podiatry or ear, nose, and throat or whatever, a cardiologist. So air conditioning, again, is that general foundation, general field. Commercial refrigeration and building automation are more the specializations. And we're working really to tie them together more so they work together. And all these labs here at the college will be state-of-the-art and really on the level of this lab that you see here.
I can tell you're an instructor, you're a teacher, because the questions that I have next, I'm like, Mr. Krum, can you tell me how do they overlap? How does commercial refrigeration, building automation, and the air conditioning technologies program, how do they all go together? And it's like, when you answer a question, you just flow it all. You just know. It's like you're reading my mind. and that's what we need in an instructor. I really think that's important. So
nice.
You really know exactly how to teach this subject, and that's important. And you make it fun, and you make it plain. And that leads me to my last question for you. It's the first day of school. What you just said kind of reminds me of me coming in, and you're kind of going over the rubric. What else would you talk about in the first day of school? I'm a student that I don't have any background in any of these fields, and I'm coming in, what would you say, action?
Well, if I'm trying to get you to the program, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what you like, and I'm going to tie in how this program addresses that. If there's any type of inkling towards technical things or computers or looking at electrical systems, or you hit this button and you see something else over there happen, what happens in between all of that? Is that something you're interested in? When you think about computers and how they communicate to each other over networks, how does that work? When you hit the button typing in some website, how does it work that when you hit your button in less than a second, the information comes back on your screen? If those are the things that you are interested in, there are so many ways I can tie in this program to what you like. Then I'm going to show a brief 1 or 2 minute video so that they can hear from someone else about the program. So it's not just for me. That's what I do most of the time.
I love it. And that's what we do at Step in STEM. At ACP, we bring the message to the students. You see where they are, you see where their foundation is, and it then becomes all about the student, not about what it is that we think we're trying to get them to understand and learn. So that's another thing that I really appreciate about this program. You make it comfortable for everyone to come as they are and learn at the level that they are. And because you're such an excellent instructor, you get them to the point where after 2 semesters, they're in the field making money. Mr. Kroom, I'm looking forward to what we're about to do next, which is you're just going to give me a nice tour. You guys can definitely stay tuned for that. That'll be a separate video where you'll be able to kind of figure out and learn some of the other elements that we have going on. Thank you, Mr. Kroom. I'm going to call on you, and I'm going to come back, and we're going to talk more about these future developments, especially that living learning lab.
Thank you. We really enjoyed it. And you're a good interviewer,
What?
Candace.
Drops mic.